Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today let's talk a little bit about why training with lower volume and higher frequency as a general rule is going to produce better results for drug-free or natural lifters. The first factor here is going to be muscle protein synthesis uptime, and what that basically means, let me throw that out there in layman's terms. That's how long the muscle grows and makes changes to itself. Remember, the changes and the adaptations that a muscle makes are what makes the muscle fibers bigger. That's what makes them thicker, and that's what makes your muscles grow. And that's also one of the most important components to strength and performance. Again, a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle, at least when all other things are equal, meaning in the same person. If one person, an individual or his twin, trained the same way and one of them had 5 pounds more muscle than the other with all the same training, he's probably going to be stronger. That's all that really means. Alright, for people who aren't using drugs of any type, your muscles only have elevated muscle protein synthesis, or the window that they grow during lasts about 28 up to 48 hours, depending upon basically how hard you trained, how much muscle growth you stimulated, things like that. There's a few factors involved as to where it falls in that range, but it ends at around 48 hours. So what that means is that if you're not hitting a muscle every 48 hours or training it at least indirectly in some way every 48 hours, it's going to have time to where it's not growing. And that's assuming really good adaptation. For some people, it might actually be the 28-hour mark, depending upon how you train. So obviously you don't want to necessarily train a muscle every single day. Now you could, and in fact many people have successfully done that to bring up a lagging body part. Training it every single day with fairly low volume actually works really well for bringing up a lagging body part. Again, due to this muscle protein synthesis uptime, you just give it more time to grow throughout the week. And if you just destroy a muscle only once a week, maybe twice a week, in some cases twice a week works if volume is sufficient, because that's up to 48 hours of muscle growth. That's over half the time spent that muscle's growing. It tends to work better, but once a week, if you're on no anabolic drugs, at the most, even if you come in and train with an ultra high volume, you're only going to stimulate about 48 hours of muscle growth. So that's 2 days out of your 7. The other 5, it's not growing at all. That's not really ideal for muscle growth. Now, the other thing to look at is that if you're training a muscle more frequently, you don't need as much volume to get total muscle growth uptime throughout the week. And here's what I mean. Let's say you're doing squats. Barbell squats is your main leg exercise. And you're coming in and you're doing 9 sets once a week versus 3 sets 3 times a week. You're doing the same amount of work. You're basically still doing 9 sets of squats every week, right? But if you're spreading them out, you're getting more growth time. And what you're going to find is that you're not even getting as much work in as you think. Your workload density itself is going to be a lot lower if you cram them into one day, because you can move more weight more effectively if you're stopping at 3 sets. Because every set you do on the squat, you tend to get weaker and weaker. Let's say that you're capable of doing 10 reps with 300 pounds. That's the best that you can do. If you were to go to 8 reps on your first set, you're not going to be able to do 8 reps for all 9 sets with the 300 pounds, even though your maximum number is 10. By the time you get to around that 4th or 5th set, that 8 rep, if 10 reps is your absolute max with that weight, that 8th rep is going to start getting real difficult around that 3rd, 4th, or 5th set. You're pretty well done. And by the time you get further than that, it's going to start dropping off. You're going to have to either reduce the weight, or you're going to have to start cutting the reps back. Or what a lot of guys do, if they're going to do their 9 sets, their 10 rep max, they might only do 5 or 6 reps. And that's acceptable in a lot of cases just to keep the total volume high. But it also begs the question of, are they really stimulating a lot of adaptation per set? And the answer is no. They're relying upon the cumulative volume of all 9 sets to get there, because there's either way you look at it, you're not getting a lot of stimulation. If you go all out in the first few sets, you're pretty well fatigued and having to go lighter and lighter and less reps, or both, as you do the more sets. You're getting some good fatigue put in, which can stimulate growth. That might push that muscle growth time up to 48 hours by doing it that way with that extra fatigue, but you're still going to get less uptime than if you had just done 3 sets And when you're doing those 3 sets, just your amount of workload that you do per unit of time is going to be a lot higher. Your workload density, your horsepower is the way to look at it if you want to look at it in car terms, is going to be dramatically higher as a result of that. Because you're going to come in and take that 300 pounds and you're going to smoke it for 8 or 9 reps, 3 sets in a row, easily. And maybe that 3rd set, it's going to get real hard. And maybe even the 3rd set, you might push it out to your 10 as an all-out set. And then you're totally fatigued. You've stimulated pretty much all of your muscle fibers. Every single one of your upper threshold fibers is going to be hit in that 3 sets with a lot of metabolic fatigue. And you can be done. You're done with your squats. You do it again in 2 days. So your 9 sets spread out through the week does a lot more work. You're lifting more weight for more reps on your total 9 sets for the week, and you're giving yourself more growth uptime. So it gives you a lot better total growth time. It gives you a lot better total workload. You're going to get bigger. You're going to get stronger faster if there's no anabolic drugs in the mix. Now, another factor that people need to look at also is the better potential for motor unit learning. Because let's be frank, if you're coming in and you're doing 9 sets for a given body part, say it's thighs or biceps or whatever it happens to be, people get bored really quickly doing high volumes of training, particularly when they do these 15 set days for a body part. They get bored of doing the same exercise. They don't want to come in and just do one. Now, a lot of people are going to argue, well, you're changing them up to hit the muscle from different angles. Well, that's not really that true, because once you start doing multiple sets, all this stuff about, well, this one works this part of the muscle more, puts more emphasis there, goes out the window, because the cumulative fatigue from doing a high volume of training, you're actually working all the upper threshold fibers throughout the muscle as you start ramping the volume up, because everything starts getting fatigued and the other parts of the muscle that aren't as important start having to take over more. And that's what people forget. Yeah, just because a given part of the chest works harder on an exercise, well, as you start doing more sets and you get more fatigue, you start finding that muscle fibers throughout the rest of the muscles with the additional sets and reps start having to take over more and more, and then they get fatigued also. So this whole idea of emphasis on a different heads of the muscle being larger, it is true, but that's only like with your first set. What you find is you continue to do that more have to take over, unless they just can't. Like, it's really hard for the rear delts, obviously, to take over on a front delt exercise or a front press or a chest press. But if that head of the muscle is capable of putting in significant workload there, as the volume starts to go up, it starts actually being recruited more. So this whole idea of changing exercises is actually because people just get bored. People don't want to come in and do 10 sets of squats. People don't want to come in and do 10 sets of the exact same type of barbell curl. They get bored. And so accordingly, they don't get quite as much motor unit learning for their peak exercises. And this is a big point, because what you find when it comes to neural efficiency, a lot of people say, well, that's just about strength, it's not about size. Well, that's true, but it does lead to size. For example, if you get stronger on any exercise, let's make this about people who just want aesthetics. Let's not even talk about people trying to get explosive power and athletic performance. Let's say on your given bicep curl, let's say the barbell curl that you like to do, or your incline curls. The more often you do the exercise, the better you get at it. That means you get stronger at it because your nervous system learns the pattern better. And what it does, it gets more efficient at recruiting muscle fibers faster through that exercise, and the exact planes and angles and motions that everything goes through on that exercise. You get better at it. You learn it better. You put it into your muscle memory. So your brain learns how to do that exercise better. Well, by doing it better, the reason you get stronger on it is, again, you recruit more muscle fibers. If you recruit more muscle fibers more effectively in a muscle, you're stimulating it more. So by doing all of your exercises like spread throughout the week, if you're able to come in and let's say that you know that for you, your biceps seem to grow best doing an incline curl, and you do those incline curls 3 times a week, you get better at doing the incline curl faster than if you came in and you did 2 sets of 5 different bicep exercises. You see where this is going. If you think about it that way, you are getting stronger at that exercise. You're going to recruit more muscle fibers in the biceps because you'll get better at it faster. And by spreading these out, it's easier for people in their mind to continue to do the same exercise 3 times a week. They don't get bored as easy if they come in and do 9 or 10 sets of the same thing in one session. And so they tend to stick to it better, and they'll get better at it faster, which will allow them to grow faster. So let's say that instead of coming in and doing your 9 or 10 sets for biceps once a week, you come in and you do that incline curl 3 times a week. You're getting better muscle protein synthesis uptime, so you're growing longer through the week. You're going to tend to be able to use more weight for more reps because you're keeping the volume lower for every set that you do through the week. So you're doing more total workload throughout the week, doing the same number of sets on the same exercise. And because you're doing the same exercise more often and spending more of your time for that body part doing that exercise, you get stronger at it faster, which lets you recruit more muscle fibers, which lets you grow faster. So for drug-free lifters, you're going to tend to get the best results physically possible if you train more often on the same exercises and body parts, but put in less volume per workout. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.